dimension of spirituality that we are collectively entering, we have grown accustomed to using certain words in our language which help to describe it to each other. We have come to use words like organic, synchronicity, wilderness, and biodiversity. We have come to use words like local, harmony, synthesis, communication, and love, and many others which have grown familiar to us all. All these words lead us gradually to think in terms of connections between the individual parts of a whole. The Buddha taught us that the cause of all suffering was the desire for the separate self. Not the desire for the real inner self, but the desire for those things that the separate self desires for itself alone, what we call selfishness. The inner self, in its deepest sense, refers to the soul in all things. So when people such as Eileen Caddy talk about going within in meditation, they mean us to penetrate into the level of our deeper reality, where the highest in each one of us connects with all others in harmonious relationship. Literally, the mistaken idea that we can function separately from each other, that the things that we do every day can be done out of context with each other, can only lead to disease. The world is slowly beginning to realize that all our problems stem from separating the parts, each from the other. It is therefore simplistic to say that organic food is merely the absence of sprays and fertilizers. We will never provide ourselves with truly healthy food unless we connect all the separate parts in its production together, all relating to each other, adding as many layers and as much variety as we possibly can. We need to consider and find opportunities for contributions from domestic animals, birds, insects, and humans, all operating in relationship with each other and creating greater and greater wholes in the process. This is the way food was produced in days gone by, and what naturally occurs in the wild. Companion planting was practiced, even in my lifetime, as a matter of course, and also companion grazing. No farmer in his right mind would have thought of reducing the fertility of his land in purely linear practices. And then came along fertilizers, herbicides, and tractors, and the word efficiency entered the farming vocabulary. And instead of spending time gazing with love at our animals and fields as a means of tuning into their special needs and acknowledging the concepts of good husbandry, we were all suddenly seduced by the concepts of time and motion studies, as if we were suddenly making a line of goods in a factory. Vast areas of one crop became the rule of the game, and big herds of one species of animal were all put together. We became familiar with the separative expressions dairy farm, pig farm, vegetable farm, beef farm, wheat farm, and inexorably our health declined, in spite of science's expertise in combating each symptom of our lack of wholeness or health. This new synthesis can be applied to any part of our lives, and after a little deep meditation comes the revelation of why we have all to work so hard to keep up, why our lives have become so busy and stressful. We have been using a concept of economics designed for us by economists. This is obviously diametrically opposed to divine economics, which flows naturally and enhances itself and becomes more and more abundant. For example, the old and the young are naturally and mutually compatible, yet we deem it necessary to shut each into separate compartments looked after by so-called professionals. So much of real life is educational for children if we only allow them to be exposed to it. Yet we sit them down all day, teaching them at great expense, and think they should be grateful. Or wheel them around in chairs, while they should be skipping around experiencing things like baby lambs and calves. We transport food and other goods long distances because of the perceived need to grow and make things in certain areas, rather than the previously practiced local diversity. With its added benefits of freshness and vitality, and its wonderful inbuilt opportunity to create variety in our occupations. And with the added bonus that we need no car to get to work. Because of the understanding that we at the Hermitage gained from our early meditation on these concepts, we set about adding to the diversity of our living situation. And slowly but surely, we added more and more parts to the whole that we were creating within the boundaries of the Hermitage, while also making sure that at each stage we connected each part with all the others. We made it a rule that each new addition had to have at least 2 or more valid reasons to be included in the scheme of things, and in this way they enhanced other parts already in place. We grew species of vegetables most supermarkets hadn't heard of, not just because we liked them, but because they suited the climate and grew well in companionship with others, or that our animals liked eating. We disciplined our taste to find ways to eat them that were delicious and satisfying, devising recipes and combinations as we went along. We coined the phrase "picking for the garden" and always expressed our gratitude in advance by doing a bit of weeding and tidying, and would give a heap to the chickens too, our compost making and egg laying friends. Very early on we acknowledged the need for trees to encourage rain and prevent erosion, and planted both trees for food, which included fruit and nuts, and also planted a great deal of species to attract birds, who were going to help us keep insect numbers within manageable proportions. 2/3 of our land was set aside for ecologically sustainable forest, with a small percentage of what accumulated naturally to be used as a managed resource for building materials, fencing, and firewood. We also experimented with using Australian eucalypt for fine furniture making with huge success. It was this last which led us to open 2 shops to allow us to sell directly to clients. Things grew, and it was to this success that we owe our wonderful 1,000 square meter workshop, equipped with every mechanical and woodworking tool imaginable and needed for every craft. Metalwork, mechanical repair, finishing, picture framing, upholstery, and fine furniture production all goes on in this amazing building, all tucked into the lee of a hill where we can hardly see it, while its vast roof collects rainwater for future use when it is dry. Over time, we have made various other smaller buildings which have given us a space where we have again diversified into several different crafts to suit the talents of our growing membership. And also buildings to house our animals, grow plants, store firewood, and park our 2 cars, the homemade tractor and our truck, and the bicycles. From our furniture making we gained the byproduct of kiln-dried wood offcuts for our hot water boiler and sawdust for animal bedding, which in turn became compost for the gardens and the tree crops. Not to mention a growing collection of the most beautiful furniture now scattered around our living spaces.